Isabella Rodriguez, who later became known as Hellman, was born in Colombia in 1975. In a country where Spanish is the only language spoken, Isabella dreamed of the American dream. Determined to make it to the northern part of the continent, she immersed herself in English by buying books, listening to English language songs, and working hard to master the language. Despite her efforts, her southern accent remained with her. Nevertheless, Isabella moved to Florida, where she found a job as a real estate agent, helping Spanish-speaking clients with buying or renting homes. In 2002, Isabella married William Hellman. Their marriage, however, was plagued by constant arguments and domestic disputes. After 10 tumultuous years, the couple decided to divorce. The divorce process dragged on for 2 years, during which Isabella met a new man named Louis Bennett. Louis was from Great Britain, but had spent his childhood in Australia, which allowed him to gain dual citizenship. He returned to the UK for his education at the prestigious Camborne School of Mines. Although he never worked in his field, he eventually returned to Australia and started a successful solar panel manufacturing company. His company expanded into the American market, and with its main office in Florida, Louis began searching for a wife online. Despite the ease of online dating, Louis struggled to find a match. Many profiles he encountered didn't capture his interest, and those who reached out to him either intimidated him or failed to connect. However, when he came across Isabella's profile, he was struck by her resemblance to Jennifer Lopez and decided to reach out to her. Their correspondence was frequent and extensive. Isabella shared her journey of moving from Colombia to America, her efforts to learn English, her job search, and her past relationships. Bennett wasn't bothered by the fact that Isabella was still finalizing her divorce from William. Isabella, exhausted from past relationships and the prolonged divorce process that drained her emotionally, was eager for a fresh start. She took the initiative to visit Louis wherever he was, be it England, Australia, or even Thailand. To impress Isabella and fulfill his own childhood dream, Louis bought a catamaran with plans to sail the Caribbean Sea with her. Frequent moves during his childhood had prevented him from making lasting friendships, so he spent his free time reading adventure novels like those by Jules Verne and Robert Louis Stevenson. Asterisk Treasure Island. Asterisk was his favorite, and it seemed to foreshadow a significant chapter in his life. Isabella and Louis spent their vacations and long weekends traveling together, but Isabella noticed that Louis often seemed to forget about his work during these trips. While his company was highly automated and seemingly ran smoothly without his constant presence, Isabella found this troubling. When she brought it up, Louis either joked it off or assured her that he had a substantial inheritance and there was nothing to worry about. Isabella was reassured by this explanation. In July 2016, the couple welcomed their first child, a daughter named Amelia. However, parenthood brought its own set of challenges. They disagreed on how to raise Amelia and where she should grow up. Louis wanted Amelia to be close to his parents in Australia, while Isabella preferred to stay in America. Eventually, Louis conceded, and in 2017, the family moved to Florida. Despite their new daughter, Isabella was keen on having a honeymoon. Louis, having promised her one, kept his word. After returning from Australia in late April 2017, the couple embarked on their romantic cruise, hoping it would rekindle the carefree joy of their early days together. At first, everything seemed to be going as Isabella had hoped. Based on their social media posts, the photos showed the couple smiling and enjoying their travels around the Caribbean islands. However, after a period of continuous honeymoon photos, there was a sudden silence for 2 weeks. When Isabella finally reappeared online, she informed her family that they were in Cuba and planning their return to Florida, though she wasn't sure of their exact route. She also mentioned that they had poor phone reception and might be unreachable for the next few days. On the night of May 15th, the Coast Guard received a distress call from Louis. He reported that he was alone on a raft in the open sea. Rescuers quickly began searching for him and eventually found him near the Bahamas. he was indeed alone on a raft filled with various items and provisions. Lewis explained that on May 14th, after a long day, he had asked Isabella to manage the catamaran while he took a nap in the cabin. He was woken by a loud thump and called out to Isabella, but she didn't respond. He went upstairs and discovered that Isabella was missing and that the impact had created a hole in the bottom of the catamaran, causing it to take on water and sink. Lewis assumed that Isabella had been thrown overboard by the impact and, believing she was wearing a life vest and would be okay, he gathered his belongings and moved to the life raft. The Coast Guard, inspecting the contents of the raft, noted that Lewis had only packed his personal items, including a tea set and a backpack with aluminum tubes containing silver coins. This struck them as unusual given the circumstances. Despite a thorough search using all available equipment, including helicopters, no trace of Isabella was found. The catamaran was located, but there were no underwater rocks or reefs in the area where Lewis claimed it had struck. Furthermore, the boat hadn't sunk completely. Divers who examined the catamaran found that the damage to the bottom was caused from inside the vessel, not from an external collision. Additionally, the boat's escape hatches were found to be open, which should not have been the case if Lewis had indeed left the boat as he claimed. These hatches are designed to remain closed to slow the rate of sinking and should only be opened in extreme circumstances when no other escape route is available. Lewis, an experienced seafarer, failed to use a beacon or satellite phone, which would have greatly assisted rescuers in locating them in case of an emergency. This omission raised suspicions that Lewis might have deliberately sunk the catamaran to make it appear as an accident. However, the question remained, where was Isabella on May 17th? Despite the extensive search efforts, which lasted 120 hours, the chances of finding someone alive in the open sea beyond 13 hours were slim. The search was officially called off on May 18th, with Isabella still missing. Meanwhile, Lewis returned home on May 15th, seemingly unconcerned about Isabella's disappearance. He even purchased a ticket to Australia for May 19th, suggesting he had little hope for Isabella's survival or recovery. Lewis quickly sought to obtain Isabella's death certificate to claim her insurance, but his request was denied. After being turned down by the insurance company, he attempted to take Amelia, their daughter, from Isabella's parents. They blamed him for Isabella's disappearance and refused to relinquish Amelia. Lewis only succeeded in taking his daughter after involving the police. On May 28th, Lewis left Amelia with his parents in the UK and returned to Florida to press for the insurance payout. His behavior struck the police as highly suspicious. They were convinced he was responsible for Isabella's disappearance, but lacked concrete evidence. The catamaran, where the supposed crime might have occurred, had sunk to a great depth, making retrieval and investigation impossible. However, the investigation into Lewis's home and phone yielded significant findings. Although the couple's inability to communicate and Lewis's frequent absences from home were not concrete evidence of wrongdoing, the discovery of recording devices in their house proved crucial. Isabella had recorded numerous threats from Lewis, in which he repeatedly threatened to kill her. Isabella had confided in friends about these threats and her intention to leave Lewis, but she hoped to salvage their relationship one last time. Financial troubles were a major source of their conflicts. Lewis was deeply in debt, including real estate, electricity bills, and credit card debts. Rather than addressing these issues, he continued to travel on his catamaran and spend money on personal interests, such as Thai boxing lessons in Thailand. Isabella was forced to work to support the family and help pay off Lewis's debts. Further investigation revealed that between 2014 and 2016, Lewis had made international transfers totaling approximately $160,000. This financial activity added another layer of suspicion to the case. As it turned out, the coins that rescuers found in Lewis's backpack were very rare and collectible. Later, The investigation revealed that these coins had been stolen in 2016 by one of Lewis's acquaintances, who was then a member of the crew of the ship Kitty. When the crew went to town, this acquaintance stole the coins and gave them to Lewis for resale. The investigation managed to convict Lewis of smuggling, as during a search of his house, the police found some of the stolen coins along with the tape recordings. For smuggling, Lewis received a 7-month prison sentence. While behind bars, he also faced a second charge for the involuntary manslaughter of his wife. The investigation carefully examined all the collected facts and concluded that during their trip, Isabella found the collectible coins among her husband's belongings. This discovery led to a heated and possibly violent argument. It remained unclear whether Isabella was killed on the boat or in the water during the quarrel. Lewis could have either miscalculated the force of a blow or thrown her into the water without helping her, resulting in her drowning while he watched. Realizing that his wife's death could benefit him financially, Lewis planned to make it look like a boating accident to receive insurance payouts for both the sinking catamaran and Isabella's death. However, the prosecution's narrative was largely considered a fantasy by Isabella's grief-stricken relatives. Lewis was never charged with premeditated murder due to a lack of evidence. He was offered a plea deal. If he pled guilty, he would receive only 8 years in prison. Lewis accepted the deal, but questions remain about his guilt, as the primary evidence against him was a tape recording of him threatening his wife. Isabella's relatives were furious at the verdict, but realized that otherwise Lewis would serve a short sentence for smuggling and be released soon. In November 2018, Lewis Bennett received an 8-year prison sentence. All insurance payments and his wife's assets, which he had claimed, were allocated to Amelia. The court also ordered Lewis to pay monetary compensation to his daughter, who would likely suffer serious psychological trauma as she grows up. As we learn from these sad events, it's important to stay aware, help those who might need it, and always take care of each other. Stay safe and look out for warning signs in those around you.